Hey everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over the last PGA slate of the year. And what I really would love to just kind of focus in on process and hopefully getting you guys better and getting myself better as well. I mean, I wasn't even going to do a video. I don't know what, I think Bobby and I just kind of got communication. We lost communication, and I didn't know if we were going to do one today. So I actually needed distraction for about 15, 20 minutes. So I want to do a quick video for you guys and kind of, again, focus on process, which hopefully will apply to other sports as well. But let me tell you how I went about this this slate. So it's a slate where I looked at it first thing Monday, and my thought on it really hasn't changed even after projections came in and things like that. Felt as though that Justin Thomas was clearly the best play. Okay, I feel as though, like, if we sort these just by salary, for example, okay, I just don't think that any of these guys are remotely close. You see Justin Thomas, he's usually fighting it out for top salary with guys like Rory and John Rahm and DJ and DeChambeau and things like that. And now, with the exception of Koepka, who basically is I mean, I consider him a train wreck, but whatever, he can always win. But he's dealing with, like, Tony Finau only 700 less, Berger only 1,000 less. Not that Berger's bad or anything, but so I think that Thomas, especially considering that it's an easy course. He's the winner's probably, if I'm going to guess, maybe 25 under. That's going to be my unofficial guess of where they end up. And I think Thomas can really win this by, I think he just take this whole course apart, if you want to know the truth. So that's my first thing is, ownership at 30%, which is probably where he's going to be. To me, that's totally fine. I mean, I'll take my W with him, and I really do think he's going to win. I mean, he's 7-8 to 1, and I would never play a golfer at 7-8 to 1 if I were better, just because there's so many things that could happen. But I mean, it just kind of seems like someone to lock in. So if you're going to do that, and try to think about this in terms of other slates and other sports, right? If you're going to do that, whether you're right or wrong about that, then if you're playing GPPs, you just have to take ownership discounts. You know what I mean? Like, you have to play guys that, even though they might not be the best play, they're close enough that you could reduce your overall ownership, and especially with golf. So this is the way I do it, all right? And again, it doesn't even matter how good my projections are. I mean, it does, but so this is what I have. So I have this value ranking, okay? And I rank the guys this way. And all I do, not all I do, I mean, what I do to really get these lineups the way I want is I look at average ownership relative to where they are in this kind of list, right? So, like, this is like the first thing that would stand out to me is that Harold Varner at only 12% rates to be one of the top value rankings. Now, again, if you use, Roto-Grinder projections, Awesome projections, Sabres, whoever projections you use, you can make the same type of analysis with that. Okay, so if you rely on, just say, Roto-Grinders projections, you throw them out there, and then you say, okay, these are their projections, and what is the ownership? And which, if it's close between projections, then just take the lower owned guys if you need to build lineups that have low ownership, which in this case I need to do because I'm using Justin Thomas. So Varner seems to be like the perfect play to kind of throw in. And then you kind of go down and you see what kind of stands out. These are probably pretty good plays at only 15%. But then you get down here, you get a little bit worse with value, but the drop in ownership gets pretty healthy, So you could use Kevin Streelman at 10% ownership, and Keegan Bradley stands out. He's only 9% owned, rates to be a top 10 value. So for me, these are the guys that I want to plug into my lineups with Justin Thomas. Now, I say plug him in. Depends on what you're doing here. Like if I'm doing a single, hand-built lineup, I can really just make sure to get those guys in. I'll put in Bradley. Here's another one like Horschel, Vaughn Taylor, Tyler Duncan, guys that are in the top kind of half or so of projection rankings, and are on the bottom end of ownership, right? So that's the way I would build. Now, when you do this with optimizers, you just got to be kind of careful. You know what I mean? It depends what optimizer you use. If you use optimizers that really just crunch the numbers and give you the top performing lineups, you're just naturally going to get high owned lineups. So what I like to do is, two things. Number one, if I use the SaberSim optimizer, again, I don't get paid by them, whatever. What they always do is it always takes into account ownership to some degree. I'm not exactly sure how the algorithm works, but if you just see by running lineups, you'll just see that they just come up with some kind of weird looking lineups, which to me is good. You'll get nice low owned lineups if you put the settings right with them. And yeah, they're not going to be the top rated from a pure points perspective, but when you factor in ownership, you get good lineups that way. The other thing you could do, let's say you don't use SaberSim, you use another optimizer. What I will do is I will literally force a certain percentage of these low-owned guys into my lineups, right? So I'll make sure I get at least 15% Varner, 15% Keegan, 15% Horschel, or more, 20, 30, depending on what I want to do. And that's another way I can just kind of manually force myself to play the lineups that I know I'm supposed to play, right? Because if I ran just a complete optimization using my projections, I mean, it's no surprise I'm going to end up with a lot of the higher owned guys, because usually the higher owned guys are the ones that project the best. But, if you take a little bit of discount with respect to how you're going to project, right? You come down, not just take the top 5 projected guys, you go down to maybe 15 or 20, and then you can get these types of low owned guys like Norlander, Sabatini, Hubbard. Like these are the guys I'm going to have like a decent amount of probably. And this is just, again, don't just play these guys because I said I'm going to play them. This is based on the projections I'm using, right? And this the process of applying those projections to ownership and just kind of, building lineups that way. If you have your own way of coming up with projections, whether it be subscribing to a site that you like, whether, again, I could rattle off all of them. They're all really, really good. That's not the end of the story. You have to be able to eat a little bit of projection integrity. You know what I mean? Like you have to be able to say, like, for example, here's like a perfect example. You have, actually, this isn't the greatest example, but if you have 2 guys that are, sort of close, but one is much lower owned than the other one, then it's just so easy to pick that. I don't have a really good example to show you here, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. So that's pretty much it. I mean, again, I could show you my actual lineups, and they're going to change or whatever, but I just figured I had like 10, 15 minutes, and I wanted to, again, try to make these videos about process. And this is the process that I use, and it makes a lot of sense to me and puts me in a position to do well. That's about it. This is going to be the last PGA video till I guess the new year, maybe, right? So who are you going to root for me? Oh, I did have a bet. I have a bet on Varner at some billion to one or whatever the hell I got on him. I don't even know. I bet like $70 on him at like 100 to 1 or something like that, or 80 to 1. So that's who you can root for me. And that's about it. Good luck to everybody, and we'll hopefully continue to make these kind of videos for you.